But I think you have to realize what you're good at, where you need support, be willing to find the people that are great at it, ask them for help, and then implement it in your own way, and then reassess and debrief and change what's not working, find a new strategy, and keep doing what's working.
Great notes, Coach. And people don't, I think they're not necessarily aware of the success that you have had as a head coach at every stop that you've been. And a lot of people, I would assume, they don't they don't know what comes with coaching, but with the good comes the bad, right? So take an instance, and I'll give you some time to kind of maybe think about this for a few seconds, is when did your gut, when during a game, or matter of fact, it doesn't have to be during a game, but I would like it to be, when did your gut tell you something like you made a call, you made a split-second decision, and your gut told you, you know what, that's probably not the right thing to do, but I'm going to go with it anyways, and it backfired on you?
I know one of the exact ones. I have two of
Okay.
them.
Okay.
One was we were in a tight game in the Centennial Conference, and was like we had one goal that we could score to win the game, and we didn't get it done. And I think at the end I said, if you guys only had as much heart, and passion as I did, as I do, then, you would have won the game. And of course that was just crushing, because I'm basically telling them they don't care and they don't have as much heart as I do.
Right.
And I said, and you think you're going home for spring break? You're staying here and we're training. And that really backfired. I kind of took the loss and put them under the heat, and, got a lot of backlash for that, and, had to pivot and apologize and, just be like, that's not, I said that I was frustrated. I said it out of frustration. And, but I felt like in that moment, we had a lot more to give that we left on the table. And I should have said that in a better way.
That's fair.
But it was youthful coaching. I never made that mistake again. I always gave myself 24 hours if I needed to have a hard conversation, because I felt like there's a lot of different types of losses, right? Like you can do the very best game you could possibly play and still lose. You could lose a game that you should have won. So, you think about those instances, and I think you just have to give yourself a little breathing room to watch the film and take time before you let that verbiage be detrimental. My second time was we were playing Washington College, and we weren't getting it done. They weren't being very relentless. And I turned to the bench and I said, who wants to go in there and get this job done? And like everyone raises their hand, right? I'm like, oh, darn, whoops. So I was like, okay, well, you go in. If you can't get it done, then you're going in. And if you don't get it done, then and my staff is laughing at me. They're like, oh my gosh, that was the worst coaching I've ever seen in my life. So I'm often reminded of like some of my more not so great coaching moments.
But everybody's had them, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's had them. But back to some of your great moments, right? At JU, you never had a below 500 conference record. And also at JU, you only had one season where you were below 500 in your overall record. And that was your very first year in 2010 where you were 8-11. You never lost more than 6 games in a single season outside of that one 8-11 season. And you've kind of hit on it a little bit within all these different messages, but if you had to put it in your pitch, what was your secret sauce? What's Mindy McCord's secret sauce to all the successes you've had over the years?
Well, when you're starting a program from scratch, you don't really know what you're doing. You're taking something that doesn't even exist and you're trying to form it into something. So I think in year one, I just grinded them really hard because I didn't know who was there to compete for championships and who was there just to start a program. And I had to recruit like 23 players. So not everyone's going to have the same mindset. so really, you're out recruiting players you recruited.
Okay.
And that's what led to, I think, a lot of the success is you have to get players that are going to say, I have to find someone better than you. You have to love them up and help them to be better than you while you're working to get better. And it might cost you playing time. And then you have to still build culture around that where there's cohesiveness and your core values and your mission focused. And so I think once we got rid of players that didn't have the same vision and mission, then we had buy-in. And then that buy-in allowed us to bring in more talent. As that talent challenged them, they got better. We started, building some confidence, getting some wins. And then all of a sudden, year 2, when Paul came in, he did a program called axiology. And axiology is where you study the way people think about their play. And it tells a story about your team. So what our team told us is they like to work out, they like to work hard, they love playing the game, and they felt most confident when they understood their role. So Paul was like, hey, have you watched this 30 for 30, Guru of Go basketball documentary? This is our team. This is what our team says they are. So we should run this style of play. Okay. And I'm like, okay, well, help me translate basketball to this. And because he had played basketball, coached basketball, it was easy for him to take basketball and this run and gun style of play and put it in our team. Well, all of a sudden, we don't have the IQ, we don't have the sticks, but we are physically fit and prepared.
Right.
So what happens in a game in the hot heat in Florida is you run players. And in the second half, the opponents that had the stick and the IQ, you make more mental errors.
Right.
And that put us on a playing field way quicker in our years of development than I thought it would, because we weren't great lacrosse players. We were great athletes. And then as we developed them over the years, they became true 4 or 5-star recruits. But they weren't that in the beginning. So we developed them. And so the secret sauce was the style of play fit who we had. Okay. I think a lot of coaches try to go into situations where they just say, this is what I like, and so this is what I'm going to do. But you really have to look at who you have and who they are. Like, if you don't have instinctual anticipatory defenders, and they're more like, lock on players that see through this lens, like maybe you're a man team. I think you do have to evolve your systems to who you have.